I'm Simona Sokac-Beling, and I am delighted to have the opportunity to speak to you today as part of the virtual CIES 2020. But before I start, I want to thank the organizers for making this possible in times of great change for us all. I cannot say how grateful I am to everyone who has been tirelessly working to make this happen. Thank you. Now, just as the case is with the theme of this year's conference, Education Beyond the Human, I cannot think of a better time than now to start talking seriously about solidarity. And what I mean by solidarity is, in this case, particularly a global sense of solidarity and the transnational sense of solidarity. What does it mean to be a responsible citizen, a caring citizen in today's world? These are all very important questions. And this is why I am happy that I have the opportunity to talk to you today about my postdoctoral research study, which is titled Transnational Solidarities, and it takes place in schools promoting the European ethos in Germany. The study is funded by the German Research Foundation, and when I started the study already last year, we didn't have any COVID, but even at that point, the topic of solidarity was already increasingly on the public agenda and also was experiencing a revival in research. And while the schools that fall within the scope of this study are indeed located in Germany, some of them are actually part of a unique system of education, a unique system of schooling in Europe, the Schola Europaea system, and therefore reflect phenomena that have global significance. They go beyond what is happening in Germany. And what I believe, where I believe the significance of this study lies, is that it responds to the need to understand a much broader phenomenon in education today, and that is what many are calling the internationalization of schooling and of education. And what I'm interested in here is one piece of this puzzle, and that is the European piece. I'm interested in understanding how schools promote a sense of Europeanness, which for me is just one specific type of beyond the national ethos. So a transnational form of ethos. And the question that I'm asking myself is whether we can imagine a transnational form of solidarity, a solidarity that can reach to the European level, given that solidarity is one of the key values of the European construction. And if we can talk of a European sense of solidarity, then what does that mean for education? And how does it look like? How can it be taught and learned? But let me step back for one moment and explain a little bit why I call these trans and not international phenomena. I believe that what is happening in these schools, and not only, goes far beyond relationships between states, bilateral agreements, or the influence of a single governmental actor. Indeed, the people and the practices and the artifacts and the norms that make up the life of these schools, in this case, those with European ethos, are located in and they draw upon multiple border crossing sites and determinations. They span what some authors have called transnational education spaces. Christel Adik and Sabine Horing have coined this term, drawing on the sociology of migration, and I think it's a very useful term. What I add to this is that I do not see them as merely organizationally transnational. It's not just about the setup of these schools, but it's also about the everyday of these schools and about the life that happens inside these schools, whether we are talking about the people who meet and who enact education, actually, or if we talk about the material objects that they use, such as educational media and textbooks, but not only. So let me now turn to the schools that I mean and explain why I think they are excellent sites for studying transnational phenomena in education. The schools that I mean are the Schola Europaea, as I mentioned, and here we have two types, classical Schola Europaea and accredited, and then the Europaschulen in Germany. If we look at them side by side, the two types of Schola Europaea that I include here, we see some small differences, but they are actually quite similar in the sense that they are following the European curriculum. Some of them have been founded already in the 1950s, and they are meant to cater for the children of staff of European institutions. So they are bound to be located in places where there are European institutions. However, with the opening up of the system since 2007, we have seen an increasing number of schools from national systems of education. So any school, be it public or private, can apply to become a European school if it undergoes an accreditation procedure. So in order to do that, it has to follow certain steps, of course, and we have seen in the last years an increasing number of schools wanting to become European schools, and in order to be able to teach the European curriculum and offer the European Baccalaureate as a qualification at the end. Why these schools are very attractive is a different question. But what I can say indeed is that we are experiencing a diversification of these kinds of schools. And they are all marked by a high level of transnational mobility, both of staff and their students. Here on this map, you can see where they are located. Most of them are in Western Europe, unsurprisingly. The stars are the classical ones, and the squares are the accredited ones. You will see that in the following years, more and more accredited ones will be popping up, and more of them will be popping up in non-Central European locations. So also in marginal and Eastern and Southern and on the margins of Europe. Now the Europaschulen, these are public schools in Germany. They are part entirely of the German system of education. But they develop a specific profile, which is a European profile. They enhance their curricular offer in terms of more themes about Europe and more bilingual or multilingual education and intercultural learning. We don't know exactly how many they are because there is no centralized body for this. They are falling under the jurisdiction of the different German states, but there were at least 639 of them that were registered as part of a network, a German-wide network of Europaschulen. Europaschulen means in German Europa school, or Europe school. Okay, here is a little map as well, but actually there are many more than this. And now the purpose of this study is actually to look at the meanings of solidarity based on an expectation that we may be able to observe perhaps European forms of solidarity together along with more national forms of solidarity being promoted and also enacted in these school settings that I see as being transnational, and also to understand how this is happening, not only at the official level, but also at the everyday. And to do this, I gather and I analyze qualitative data. I look at the school ethos as expressed in the mission, the vision, the websites, the organization of the school more generally. I look at the curricula, the educational media, official documents, but I also go into the schools. I go to the schools to observe classroom interactions, to take part in extracurricular activities, to talk to teachers, to staff, to students, and to take notes, to make observations in something that has been called a focused ethnographic approach. So I don't go there for years, but I go at key points in time, and I meet with key informants, and I observe key encounters and interactions in order to get a sense of how solidarity is promoted and enacted in the specific schools. My focus is on the secondary level of schooling because this is where I guess this concept, this idea, this value appears more prominently. Now, as the first phase of the study is at its end, I'm reporting here on a few sub-questions, and that is on the official level. So what are those officially promoted visions of solidarity that we can draw out from the programmatic mission, from the structure, from the organizational setup of these schools, and from their curricula? And what subjectivities do these visions correspond to? This is a key question, and I think of key relevance for us today. So let us start with the Schola Europaea. If we look at their mission, there is a phrase that is inscribed at the foundation stone, is laid in the foundation stone of every Schola Europaea school. And that is a phrase attributed to the head of the first Schola Europaea that opened in Luxembourg in the 1950s. Without ceasing to look to their own lands with love and pride, they will become in mind Europeans. Now, how do they promote that mission? Through an ethos of multilingualism and multiculturalism that is reflected in how they are set up along language sections with the purpose of promoting the mother tongue. And they follow a supranationally agreed, totally unique in the world, European curriculum. The ministers of education of the different European countries come together and they agree on what is a set of minimum requirements and what is the content of the syllabus that they would all agree on as acceptable, so that in the end they can all agree that the European Baccalaureate that the students, the graduates, obtain at the end of their studies can be recognized in every European state and beyond. Now, as you can see, this means that these schools not only are made up of transnationally mobile staff and students, but they also promote or they imagine a transnationally mobile future for their graduates. And they are actually quite well situated in the opportunity structure, socioeconomically strong. On the other hand, the Europaschulen has it as its mission or sees it as its task to prepare students for a life in our common home, Europe. How do they do that? They also provide bilingual classes, and they also promote certain European themes, but the way that they express that is via a German curriculum, of course, seeing that these are German schools within the German system, and they have a European twist as an add-on. They have this European dimension. It is an add-on to their normal, to their regular curriculum. They teach they teach foreign languages, for example, foreign being the word used in their self-presentation. And they promote projects and exchanges of students with other countries, again, the word used in their self-presentation. So here, the perspective from which these schools are set up and they formulate their mission of Europeanness is the German perspective. It's us and the foreigners. It's us and the other countries. If we put them side by side, Schola Europaea with having Europe as a mission and Europaschulen having this mission of creating a modus vivendi of living together in Europe, we see the difference in perspective here. So if one is more or less promoting a sense of supranational solidarity based on a common European we, so the purpose is to make the students in mind Europeans, the other one is promoting more of an intercultural solidarity where the focus is on the inter. It's on creating this living together in a broader container, which is Europe. So the focus here is on this interface between us and the others. If the first one is imagining and promoting a transnationally mobile future and a privilege and the maintenance of a privileged position, and this is why I think that this leads to a sort of European subjectivity. The other one is focusing much more on the internal diversification and takes transnationality as a disadvantage. Now, what is happening in the curriculum? When we look at the curriculum, we see that solidarity appears both as a cultural and as a political value. So it is always at a normative level. we don't see much of solidarity in action. And here the focus is on charity and humanitarian spirit, as the only place in the syllabus of Schola Europaea we see solidarity appearing in religion or in non-denominational ethics, where it is associated with values of humanistic values, or in textbooks and syllabi from different German federal states, we see it appearing explicitly in relation to democratic values, tolerance, pluralism, cooperation, and so on. My argument is that these understandings of solidarity as political or cultural values actually reflect a universalistic value set, which then contributes to the projection of a global type of subjectivity rather than a particularistic one. So what does that all tell us? Where does it leave us? So what is the broader meaning of these findings? I would argue that this tells us something about the internationalization of and in schools, particularly in Europe, but not only. What we do see is a disconnect between the programmatic mission that we have seen, the curriculum, and the wider media debates in terms of the meanings that are mobilized, the meanings of solidarity, and the subjectivities that then are constructed from it. While they do promote a universalistic value set, as we saw with humanism, Christianity, democracy, none of these can be said to be the monopoly of European schooling or German schooling. Instead, they reflect a sort of global aspiration. They might originate in Europe, but they project onto the world. And the type of solidarity that is invoked here is a Durkheimian solidarity. It is the glue that keeps society together. It is not the apple of discord that breaks it apart. The superordinate category here is that of harmony, cohesion, and integration, whether at European or national level. The solidarity that we are striving for is one that brings things together in a totalizing kind of way. And the final point, not only in a totalizing kind of way, but also in a way that promotes and solidifies the status quo. It is mostly dominant subjectivities that are here promoted. Western, so in many ways, very Western. So this universalism is a Western universalism, but it's also a transnationally legitimated universalism. So at the end of the day, it is a sense of solidarity that further institutionalize the hierarchies, the existing hierarchies of power, even when the values, the content of the values that are being institutionalized have disruptive potential. So instead of leading to a revolution, the type of solidarity promoted here is leading to a conservation of the status quo in European terms. And this, in my understanding, is a further institutionalization of the internationalization of schools in the dominant sense. Thank you very much. I look very much forward to your comments and feedback. Please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. Thank you.